Okay. So today we are going to start about business mathematics. Okay. So first of all, we are going to understand the syllabus. Just a minute. So first of all, we are going to discuss our paper number 3. Okay. So if I discuss about this paper number 3, so how many total sections are there, and then what are the weightage of each section, we are going to discuss in detail about this. Understood? So first we will understand our paper number 3, which is quantitative aptitude. Okay. Now quantitative aptitude. So broadly, if you see the objective and everything, you will go through it. I know you people will go through it, but the important thing is these 3 sections. Okay. So section number 1, 2 and 3. So entire quantitative aptitude or QA is basically divided into 3 groups. That is business mathematics, logical reasoning and statistics. Okay. अभी देखो ये जो 3 सेक्शन है इसका अपना एक इंडिविजुअल वेटेज होता है एग्जाम. Okay, so total questions would be 100. Okay, and the grouping would be something like that. Business mathematics will be of 40 marks, logical reasoning would be of 20 marks, and statistics would be of 40 marks. So if you do it total, you will get 100 marks. Duration everybody knows, 2 hours duration is given. Got it? So now let's understand the first one, which is business mathematics. So once you go to the business mathematics, you will find this. The weightage is 40 marks, and the chapters which are there in business mathematics is number 1, ratios and proportions, indices and logarithm. So these 3 combined chapter will basically give you an entire 1 chapter, which is your chapter number 1. Now coming to chapter number 2 is equation. Under equation, what we are going to understand is equations, then linear simultaneous equation up to 3 variables, and then quadratic and cubic equations of 1 variable. Okay, and finally we'll see that what are the application of business, basically what is the application of this equation in our business related problems. Okay, so this was about second chapter. The third chapter would be linear inequalities. Okay, in linear inequalities we are going to understand with up to 2 variables. Okay, we'll see what are linear equations and then how to solve them, how to find the solution in feasible region. Everything we'll understand in detail. Okay. Just a minute, somebody has messaged me. Okay. So now chapter number 4 would be mathematics of finance. Okay, simple interest is there, compound interest is there, and at the same time you can understand the weightage. So you can see the number of weightage is basically 20% and 20 to 30%. It varies year to year, it varies, like 20 to 30% is there for this particular section. Chapter 1, 2, 3 combinedly give you 20 to 30%. Okay, and then if you go to this particular section of mathematics of finance, which includes simple interest, compound interest, nominal and effective rate of interest, present value, net present value, future value, perpetuity, then annuities, sinking fund, calculating of EMIs, calculations of returns, and compound annual growth rate. Okay, CAGR. So all this includes 30 to 40% of weightage of your question paper. Okay. Now after that there are very interesting topics like permutation and combination, sequence and series, sets, relation, functions, and the basic parts of limit and continuity. Okay. Don't worry about this names that might be multiple students are there who haven't their science background in 11th 12th, but this chapter would be very simple. Okay, basics are there, so you can see it is already written, basics of limits and continuity. And then finally we have basic applications of differential and integral calculus in business and economics. Okay, and combiningly this, if you see this entire 3 chapters, like 4 chapters, 5, 6, 7, 8. So these 4 chapters will give you 30 to 50% of the weightage of the question paper. Got it? So in total, if you see, 8 chapters are there in business mathematics. So if I have to tell you how many chapters are there in business mathematics, so in business mathematics we have 8 chapters altogether. Okay, let me write it. Yeah. So for business mathematics we have 8 chapters. Okay, now let's understand logical reasoning. Okay, now in logical reasoning we have these 4 chapters: number series, coding and decoding. Then we have direction test. Then we have sitting arrangement, and then finally blood relation. So that means 4 chapters are there, and the weightage are also given here and highlighted here. Okay, you can go through and you can understand. So how many chapters are there for logical reasoning part? There are 4 chapters. Okay, now let's understand in statistics how many chapters are there and what are they. So number 1, you can see statistical representation of data. Diagrammatical representation is there, then frequency distribution is there, then graphical representation of frequency distribution, histogram, frequency polygon, ogive, and then pie chart. So all this includes in your unit 1. In unit 2, sampling part is there, which includes the basic principle of sampling theory, comparison between sample survey and complete enumerations, then some important terms associated with this particular sampling. Okay, and finally the next chapter would be of measurement of or measuring of central tendency and dispersion. Okay, where you will find mean, median, mode and everything in detail. Standard deviation is also there, variation is also there, and then the interesting topic would be there, which is probability. Okay, now after probability you have theoretical distribution, which is your chapter number 16, and then we have 2 more chapters that are correlation, regression and index number, and the weightage are also assigned next against each chapters. You can go through it. Okay, so in total if you see, we have 8 chapters in 8 plus 4, that is your 12, and then 6 chapter we have observed in statistics. So in total we have 18 chapters, including this 3 sections. So we have 18 chapters to cover. Okay, so first of all we are going to start with this basic topic of mathematics, which is called ratios and proportions. Okay, so our today's topic would be ratios and proportions. Okay, now so let me start with the ratio and then we'll deep dive into proportion. So what is ratio? So as discussed in the previous class, I think you people were there. Okay, so what is ratio? So ratio is basically comparison between 2 or more objects. Okay, but you have to understand this object needs to be of same kind. Object needs to be of same kind as well as of same unit. Understood? So these object must satisfy these 2 criteria. What are the criteria? Criteria are the object which we are comparing is basically has to be of same kind as well as same unit. Okay, now what do I mean by same kind? So let's understand what is the meaning of same kind. So the word same kind stands for, like, we can measure mass with mass, we can measure volume with volume, we can measure weight with weight, we can measure height with height, we can measure rupees with rupees. Okay, so this is called same kind. That means the physical state of the object has to be same. Okay, or whatever the physical quantities we are measuring, it has to be of same nature, same kind. Okay, so you can write it down. We can compare mass with mass, we can compare weight with weight, we can compare length with length. Okay, it is not possible to compare length with weight or length with mass, right? So please keep these 3 basic things in your mind. Even rupees with rupees and time with time. Okay, or duration with duration, whatever you can say. So this is something we can understand from this word called same kind. Now what is same unit? So if you have to understand what do I mean by same unit, so units are basically something which gives a clear idea about any number. Suppose if I go to a shop and if I ask a shopkeeper to give me 5 sugar, Now what shopkeeper will do? Shopkeeper will basically give me 5 counted sugar on my hand, and that will be very bad like experience. Okay, so that means if I am saying 5 sugar, it is not giving a proper idea to the shopkeeper. But the moment I ask him for 5 kg of sugar, then and there the shopkeeper will weight it properly up to 5 kg and he will hand it over to me, right? So that means इसका मतलब ये होगा, ये जो 5 kg sugar है, the word kg comes into the picture and it gives the clear picture, clear idea. So clear idea about any quantity, can be drawn from this kg, gram, kilometer, meter. So these are basically units of measurement, right? So now if I talk about unit of measurement, you people should aware about few measurement charts, or you can say table, so that whenever it comes to conversion, it will be helpful for you all to understand and convert. Now let's understand few conversion table. Okay, so first of all I am going to draw table number 1. Okay, in table number 1, what we can expect is, like, you have to learn this and you have to understand this as well, right? So there is a table called kilo, hectare, deca, then gram, decigram, centigram, milligram. Okay, so this is basically, you can add G to it and G to it. So basically kilo, hectare, deca, then gram, decigram, centigram, milligram. Okay, now this is basically we are measuring mass. So whenever we are measuring mass, we have to use this kind of units. Kg is a bigger unit and milligram is a smaller unit. Okay, now once we are talking about meter, that means if you are interested to find the length, then what are the units which we should keep in our mind is kilo, again the same thing, kilo, hectare, deca. Now for meter, for length, there has to be a meter, right? And then decimeter, centimeter, millimeter. Got it? And similarly you have to add m after all this, k, h and d. Okay, now if I want to measure the volume, we have to deal with liters, right? So it will be kilo, hectare, deca, then liter, deciliter, centiliter, milliliter, right? Now all you need to do is add L as a suffix. Okay, after K, H and D, done. Now how we are going to convert? Suppose if I want to move forward, I have to multiply, and suppose if I want to move backward, I have to divide. Understood? Any doubt? No doubt. Now let's understand. Now with whom we have to multiply and with whom we have to divide. Answer to this question is depends on the number of jumps. Okay, so the number of jumps will give you number of 0. Okay, and based on that number of 0, you just keep 1 before that and then you have to multiply. Okay, so you have to keep this in your mind as well. For example, if I want to convert, say for example I want to convert 5 kg into grams. So how we can convert 5 kgs into grams? So see where you are at gram, right? Okay, kilogram, right? And you want to convert into gram. So you have to move forward or backward. Of course we have to move forward. And how many jumps? 1, 2, 3. So that means we are taking 3 jumps. So for 3 jumps we have to take 3 zeros. As I have written, number of jumps is equal to number of zeros. So I have taken, but only 0 doesn't give you any idea or any number, right? So you have to add 1 before it. Okay, now you have to multiply the quotient, that is 5 with this 1000. So once you multiply, you will get what? 5000 gram. So that means this is a way or the approach or method in which you can convert any unit from bigger to smaller or smaller to bigger. You just need to understand number of jumps and the direction. If it is forward, we have to multiply. If it is backward, we have to divide. I hope it is clear. Now let's understand table number 2, which we are going to use in this chapter of ratio. So basically we are going to use all this information. That is why I am giving in the beginning of the session, so that you people, whenever it is required, you can take it from there and you can solve any questions based on this particular conversion. Okay, now there is a conversion of time. So in time we all know hour, minute and second. Okay, so whenever you are going to convert from hour to minute, you have to multiply with 60. From minute to second, you have to multiply with 60. Now sir, if I am going back, in that case what you have to do, you have to divide by 60 and then again you have to divide by 60. But sir, if I want to go directly from hour to second, then you have to multiply with 60 into 60. That will give you 3600. Okay, and if you are multiplying, if you are going back from second to hour, then in that case you have to divide 3600, just in case of multiplication. So that is a conversion number 2 table. Now if I talk about table number 3, so table number 3 consists of rupees. So there are multiple times it has been observed that conversion between rupees and paise has been asked. Okay, so now we know 1 rupees is equal to 100 paise, right? So if there is a conversion from rupees to paise, so we have to multiply with 100, and if I'm going back from paise to rupees, we have to divide by 100. I hope it is clear to everyone. If not, please write in the comment box so that I can understand. Any doubt till now? If you have any doubt, anything, if you want to connect with me, you people can please drop your message in the comment box so that I can read and I can tell you, I can help you out. Okay, so this was all about same unit. Okay, so I have in detail I have explained about the units, because I know since there is a long gap between like 9, 10 and then 11, 12, so people may like miss this particular tables and all. So I have given you can understand. Now let's again go back and understand whatever we have learned till now. So we have understood what is ratio. It is a comparison between two or more objects or elements, right? So whenever we are going to compare mathematically, we are going to call ratio. Okay, now in that we have to keep two things in our mind. Number one, that is comparison has always to be done using same kind, like mass with mass, weight with weight, right? And then we have to convert the, if it is of same kind also, even though in some cases you will find we have to compare 5 kg with 5 gram. Okay, so that is not going to be comparable. First of all, you have to bring the units in the same form. You can convert both the units in gram, or you can convert both the units in kg, and then you are able to compare, right? So I hope the definition of ratio is clear to everyone. What is ratio is clear to everyone. Okay, and there are few prerequisite which we are going to use in this particular chapter, that is conversion tables, table 1, table 2, table 3. You can see, and if you want you can take a screenshot. Okay, yeah, you can take a screenshot. Now let's understand how to represent ratio. Till now we have seen what is ratio. Now we are going to understand how we are going to representation of ratio. So ratios are basically going to be represented as, suppose we want to compare two quantities. Suppose a person is carrying a bag of 5 kg and the other person is carrying a bag of 10 kgs. Okay, now we want to compare this 10 kg with this 5 kg. Okay, so how we are going to compare? Using ratios. Okay, so there is a representation, there is a way to write it down. Okay, so now the representation or the way to write the ratios is very simple. Take the first quantity, write it down. Take the second quantity, write it down. Okay, and in between that just put a colon. I hope you all are aware about this. In the lower grades you have learned this colon is called is to. This colon is called is to. Okay, the meaning of this colon in this particular statement is to. Now how we are going to read is, we are going to read it like this: 5:10. So that means we are comparing 5 with 10. Okay, and this is a way to write any ratio. So representation can be generalized as A is to B. Okay, now once representation you have understood, you have to simply put the quantities, and between them you have to keep the colon symbol, that is to. So with this we can represent any two quantities, even more quantities, in a ratio form, right? So this is basically called ratio form. Okay, or you can say the representation form of a ratio. Now after representation we have to understand that there are how many, this A and this B are basically called the terms of the ratio. Okay, these are called A and B, are basically called terms of the ratio. Terms of the ratio. Got it everyone? Now, so that means the A is our first term and B is our second term. In mathematics, the first term and the second term has their unique name. Okay, the first term is called antecedent, and the second term is called consequent. You can connect with your daily life. Antecedent, you have heard about AM and PM. So what is AM? Anti-meridian. Anti means it comes before PM, right? So that is why antecedent means the first term. Okay, Consequent, you can relate again this with the real life. Always try to connect your topic with the real life experiences so that the topic will last longer in your brain. Okay. Now, if I talk about the second term would be basically consequent. Okay. Now, how we are going to connect with the real life? See, if you do anything now, there are consequences. So consequences when it comes to the picture after the process has been done. ओके मतलब काम होने के बाद या कोई आप अगर एक्टिविटी की है उसके बाद कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस फेस करना पड़ता है, राइट? सो दैट मीन्स कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस ऑलवेज कम्स आफ्टर द इफेक्ट, ओके, और आफ्टर द प्रोसेस. दैट इज वाई द आफ्टर और द लेटर टर्म, दैट इज द सेकेंड टर्म इन द रेशियो, इज कॉल्ड कॉन्सिक्वेंट. ओके, सो आई होप यू पीपल आर क्लियर विद दिस एंटीसीडेंट एंड कॉन्सिक्वेंट. एनी डाउट टिल नाउ? ओके, नाउ इफ आई आस्क यू टू प्लीज राइट, let's do an example. If I give you a ratio of 3:4, okay, and the question is very simple. Question is basically find the antecedent and consequent in this ratio 3:4. Very simple. So there is a ratio given 3:4. You have to find the antecedent. You have to find the antecedent and the consequent both. So it is very easy question. Antecedent is the first one, very good, and consequent is the second one. Any doubt till now? No doubt? Please check. Meanwhile, I'll check the chat option. Is it clear? If it is clear, please write clear in the chat box. Okay, chalo. Now let's understand. After this question, now let's understand. So now, up to now, we have understood what is ratio, how to represent or how to write ratios. Okay, and then we are going to understand that ratio as a fraction. Okay, so now give the heading ratio as a fraction. So we all know ratio can be expressed. Ratios can be expressed in a form of fraction. Okay, now what do this mean? So basically we can say that whenever there is a ratio, suppose A is to B, okay, we can simply write it like this: A by B. Okay, so in this case A was our antecedent, isn't it? And B was our consequent. Now antecedent is nothing but numerator. In case of a fraction, if you are expressing it as a fraction, it will be a numerator. Just a minute. And the consequent, which is nothing but the denominator in case of a fraction. Denominator. Okay, so just be aware with this terminologies. Antecedent is nothing but numerator, and consequent is nothing but denominator. Okay. Now, after understanding this, that we can convert ratios into fractions. Now, if I ask you that ratios and fractions are same identities or different identities, the answer would be basically ratios and fractions are of two different identities. They are not same. So if somebody is like in a misconception that ratios and fractions are same quantity, let me tell you, my dear friends, ratios and fractions are two different identities. Okay? Why? The reason is very simple. Ratio is number one. The reason is ratio is unitless quantity. In ratio we don't find any unit, so it is a unitless quantity. It is a unitless quantity. Whereas if I talk about fraction, it is a unitful quantity. That means unit is there. In case of fraction, for example, if you go to a shop, we often ask the shopkeeper to give me half kg of sugar or maybe half kg of paneer, right? So that kg is a unit in this half. Now what is this half? Half is basically a fraction. Now in case of a ratio, what we do? We write half as 1:2. So see, there is no such unit. And sir, why this is so? Why there is no such unit in case of a ratio? Because we have already aligned the unit to be same, right? So suppose this 1 is also in kg and this 2 is also in kg. So the moment you convert this ratio in fraction form, this kg got eliminated out, and hence we have only 1/2 which can be written as 1:2. That is the reason in case of a ratio there is no unit, because Units are of same. Please see, go back to the initial content which I have shared. See, so whenever we are talking about ratio, we have to keep the units same, and since the units are same, they are eliminated out in the process of ratio, in the representation of ratio. So units are not there, that is why it is a unitless quantity. I hope it is making sense to you all. Second point is very simple point. There is a difference between ratio and fraction. What is the difference? Ratio is basically comparison between two quantities as discussed earlier. Now fraction is something, it is a part of a whole. So it is a comparison between two or more quantities. It is a comparison between two or more quantities. Whereas fraction is a part of a whole quantity. It is a part of a whole quantity. Okay. So for example, there is a pizza, 4 slices are there, you have ate 1, so that means how many parts you have ate? 1 by 4. Is that clear? So this is the difference between ratio and fraction. But one thing which is common in ratio and fraction is their representation or expression. Okay, ratio and fraction both can be written as numerator by denominator form. Okay, and that is the only similarity between ratio and fraction. Okay, their representation. I hope it is now clear. Okay, so we can express any ratio in the form of fraction. Okay, understood? Any doubt? No doubt. Now let's understand simplification or the lowest form of the ratio. Lowest or the simplest form or the least form, you can even say least form of a ratio. So that means ratio can be brought down to its simplest or lowest form. Now what do I mean by this simplest and lowest form? So basically if you see any ratio, say for example if I take 8 by 16, or that is 8 is to 16, I am writing like this. Now in this ratio of 8 is to 16, if you see the numerator is 8 and denominator is 16. Now how to convert into lowest form, or what is lowest form? So basically what you have to observe is this 8 and 16 has what common factor? So the highest common factor which 8 and 16 are having is 8. You can write 8 as 8 into 1 and you can write 16 as 8 into 2. So that means 8 is a common factor. So you have to identify the common factor and then you have to just eliminate it out. The moment you will eliminate it out, you will get the answer. Any doubt? Please check. You just need to eliminate this out. That's all. So the moment you will eliminate out, what you are going to get? You are going to get 1 by 2. That is nothing but 1 is to 2. So that means 1 is to 2 is the simplest form of 8 is to 16. So 8 is to 16, simplest form would be 1 is to 2. Okay, you can write it like this, simplest or the lowest form. Any doubt till now? If it is clear, can you convert 2.5 is to 3.6 into its simplest form? Yes. So if I want to give this question to you all, then this is very easy question, and I know you people can do it, right? So how to convert this? See, this is a decimal and again this is also a decimal, right? So we know whenever we are going to remove the decimal, we have to divide it by 10. Why 10? Because after decimal there is only one digit. Sir, what happens if there is 2 digit after decimal? Then we have to divide it by 100. Then sir, what happens if there is 3 digit after decimal? Then in that case we have to divide it by 1000. Okay? So in this case, what I am going to do is 25 by, we are removing this and we are keeping 10. Again we are removing this, we are keeping 10. Okay? So this will become 25 by 10 is to 36 by 10. Any doubt till now? No? Now you can eliminate this 10 and 10 because it is same denominator, right? So whenever the ratios are in fraction and the denominators are same, you can eliminate in this particular format. Okay, and why we can do that? Because the properties of ratio which we are going to discuss after this. Okay, so we can eliminate it down and finally we are left with it 25 is to 36. Okay, so that means 25 is to 36 is a low. Now if I ask you to find the common factors between 25 and 36, is there any common factor between 25 and 36? Answer is no. So that means this is our lowest form or the simplest form for this particular ratio. Okay, always remember the antecedent and the consequent of the ratios must be in integer. They have to be in integer. I hope you all are aware about integers. Integers are whole number along with sign. Okay, positive, negative, like 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. So plus minus 1, plus minus 2, plus minus 3, even zeros are there. Okay, so it has to be the antecedent and the consequent, both has to be integers. Okay, in this case it was not integer, it was decimal. That is why we have converted it like this. Okay, now if I tell you to please do a next question based on the same thing, simplest form, if I give you one such case like 50 is to 25, can you convert it into lowest form or simplest form? Again, it's a very simple question and you can do it, right? Now you have to just convert this 50 is to 25 as 50 by 25. Okay, now in the table of 50 and 25, 50 can be written as 25 into 2, and again 25 can be written as 25 into 1, right? That means 25 is the common factor in both the, in fact the greatest common factor in both the cases. So now what we are going to do is, we are going to basically cut this. Okay, now what is left out? 2 is to 1, or basically 2 by 1, right? So it is 2 by 1, which is nothing but 2 is to 1. Okay, now we can say that 2 is to 1 is the simplest form for this given ratio, which is 50 is to 25. So this is the simplest form or the lowest form, whatever you feel good you can say. ठीक है, आपको जो बेटर लगे, लोएस्ट फॉर्म या सिंपलेस्ट फॉर्म, आप वो बोल सकते हो. ठीक है, सो ये हमारा लोएस्ट फॉर्म है या सिंपलेस्ट फॉर्म है. ठीक है, यहाँ तक बातें सबको क्लियर है? इफ़ यू हैव एनी डाउट प्लीज़ राइट इन द चैट बॉक्स. नो डाउट? ग्रेट. If you are understanding, you can even post thumbs up in the chat box so that I can understand that things are pretty much clear to you all. যদি বোঝা যাচ্ছে তোমরা চ্যাট বক্সে কমেন্ট করতে পারো, ঠিক আছে? Done? Now let me give you one more question based on this simplification, okay, or the lowest form. Now if I give you 1 whole 1 by 2 is to 3 whole 1 by 3. Now how we are going to simplify this ratio? It's very easy. So first of all, what you have to do, see, this is a mixed fraction, this is also a mixed fraction. So first of all, you have to convert this mixed fraction into improper fraction. Now the question is, sir, how we can convert this mixed fractions 1 whole 1 by 2 into improper fraction? See, the logic is very simple and very straightforward. Okay, what is the logic? First of all, we'll multiply this 2 with this 1. Whatever product comes, we have to add with this numerator, and then you have to keep the same denominator. Okay, so denominator would be same as 2, and in this case what we have to do, we have to multiply this 2 with 1. So 2 into 1, and then we have to add it with this 1. Okay, this is very basic, very basic. Still I am teaching you so that if there is anyone who is facing difficulty in converting, they can convert. Okay, so now you can see we can easily convert this. We have already converted this 1 whole 1 by 2 as 3 by 2, right? Now 1 whole 1 by 2 can be written as 3 by 2, whereas this 3 whole 1 by 2 can 3 whole 1 by 3 can be written as, again same funda, 3 into 3 9, and 9 plus 1 10 by 3. Any doubt? Now how you can convert this fractional ratio into its lowest or least form, okay, or simplest form? Okay, it is in fraction. The antecedent if you see and the consequent if you see, these are in fraction, and right now I told you we have to convert into integers. Okay, so that means how we are going to do it? For that, what I'm suggesting you to do is, if the ratios are having only 2 terms like this, you just invert the second ratio and then just multiply. So it would become 3 by 2 and just invert it 3 by 10 and then multiply. Okay, so why we are doing this? I'll tell you the fact as well. See, what is the meaning of ratio? If I take the first ratio 3 by 2, I have written 3 by 2 like this, and then is to. So basically any ratio A is to B can be written as A divided by B. Got it? So that is what I am doing here. This is our A, the first term, and the second term is B. So I have written A at the numerator divided by the consequent I am writing in the denominator. Now the basic mathematics says that if I convert this denominator, if I transpose this denominator to numerator, then we have to reciprocal this denominator. So that is why 3 by 2 will be there, and the moment I'll convert from this division, okay, we are basically dividing this 10 by 3, right? We can understand that 3 by 2 is getting divided by 10 by 3. Now in mental mathematics in lower grade you have understood. The moment I'll convert this division into multiplication, we have to reciprocal the second term. So second term needs to be reciprocal. Let me change the marker color so that I can highlight it down. Yeah. So now this has to be reciprocal and then written like this. Reciprocal. Please note it down. Okay. So that is why we have this reciprocal, this 10 by 3, and it has now become 3 by 10. Now just multiply this, and then whatever you are getting, that is a final answer. So basically it will give you how much? It will give you 3 into 3, 9 by 3 into 10, that is 30. So basically 9 by 30. Now you can find a common factor between 9 and 30. Okay, what are the common factor? 9 can be written as 3 into 3 and 30 can be written as 3 into 10, right? So you can eliminate this 3. What is got? What you received is 3 by 10, which is nothing but 3 is to 10. Now there is no common factor. So 3 by 10 is our simplest, or you can say the lowest form, okay? Or even the standard form of a ratio in terms of integers. Understood? Now these basic operations are very very important while you approach ahead in this chapter. ठीक है, जैसे ही आप लोग आगे बढ़ेंगे इस चैप्टर में, ये सारे बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट्स को हम लोगों को प्लगिंग करना पड़ेगा, क्वेश्चंस में यूज़ करना पड़ेगा. ठीक है, इसीलिए ये सारे बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट्स बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाते हैं फॉर एडवांस लेवल क्वेश्चंस और एनी क्वेश्चन बेस्ड ऑन रेशियो. ठीक है, आपको ये सब बेसिक चीज़ें पता होना चाहिए. ठीक है, एनी डाउट टिल नाउ? अंडरस्टूड? नाउ वी हैव अंडरस्टूड द सिंपलेस्ट फॉर्म. ठीक है, हाउ टू कन्वर्ट इनटू सिंपलेस्ट फॉर्म. ओके, नाउ आई टेल यू समथिंग अबाउट, आई एम गोइंग टू टेल यू समथिंग अबाउट प्रॉपर्टीज ऑफ रेशियोज. देखो दो प्रॉपर्टी है रेशियो का. ठीक है, रेशियो का दो प्रॉपर्टीज है. पहला नंबर प्रॉपर्टी जो रेशियो का है, ठीक है, वो ये कहता है कि अगर कोई रेशियो हमारे पास है A:B, ठीक है, जिसको आप A/B की तरह लिख सकते हो. सो प्रॉपर्टी नंबर 1 सेज दैट कि आप किसी भी रेशियो में, ठीक है, उसके एंटीसीडेंट और कॉन्सिक्वेंट में सेम कांस्टेंट नंबर, कोई भी एक कांस्टेंट नंबर, से फॉर एग्जांपल K को आप मल्टीप्लाई कर सकते हो. ठीक है, इससे आपके रेशियो पे कोई इम्पैक्ट नहीं पड़ेगा. ओके, द रेशियो वुड बी सेम. ओके, सो दैट मीन्स you can multiply any constant number to the antecedent and the consequent both of a ratio. The result will not be impacted. Okay, मतलब क्या है कि अगर मान लें फॉर एग्जाम्पल इन दिस प्रीवियस क्वेश्चन यू हैव सीन, ओके, सपोज देयर इज अ रेशियो कॉल्ड 3:2. So you can write it down like this, 3/2. Now if you want to make it more bigger, okay, then what you can do is you can basically multiply both the numbers, both the antecedent and consequent with the same number. Numbers should be same where K is any constant, K is any constant number. So this K has to be same. ऐसा नहीं कर सकते कि ऊपर K से मल्टीप्लाई करते नीचे M से, नहीं. अगर हम ऊपर 5 से मल्टीप्लाई कर रहे हैं नीचे भी 5 से मल्टीप्लाई करना पड़ेगा. ठीक है, सो दैट इज अ फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी इन रेशियो, और यू कैन से इट इज अ प्रॉपर्टी ऑफ अ रेशियो दैट रेशियोज terms can be multiplied, ठीक है, by the same constant number. Okay, even after multiplication whatever you are getting, for example in this case 3 into 5 is 15 and 2 into 5 is 10. So that means 15:10 is equal to basically 3:2. Okay, so these two ratios are same in a sense. Once you convert it to lowest form, this 15:10, you will get this only. Okay, so there is no change in the ratio. Okay, so ratios can be multiplied by any constant number. Both the terms of the ratios can be multiplied. So sir, if I can multiply and the ratios are remain unchanged, so in that case we can divide as well. Yes, of course. And this is your second property. Second property says that if there is any ratio A:B, you can express it as A/B, and then you can divide both the terms with the same constant number. Say, let's say for example K, or you can say any other constant. If you want, you can take K1 because K already I have taken. So you might think कि ऊपर वाला ही नंबर लेना, नहीं, कोई भी आप नंबर से डिवाइड कर सकते हो. ठीक है, बट इट हैज़ टू बी सेम. से फॉर एग्जांपल हम लोगों ने देखा था अभी जो लोएस्ट टर्म में कन्वर्ट कर रहे थे, सपोज 50:25 है ना. सो देयर इज अ रेशियो कॉल 50:25. आई कैन राइट इट डाउन लाइक 50/25. ओके, नाउ इफ आई वांट व्हाट इज द कॉमन फैक्टर बिटवीन 50 and 25? 25. तो हम लोग क्या कर सकते थे, दोनों के दोनों न्यूमरेटर एंड डिनोमिनेटर को 25 से डिवाइड कर सकते थे. सो इफ आई डिवाइड 50/25, आई एम गोइंग टू गेट 2, and if I am dividing 25/25, I am going to get the answer 1. So that means our answer is 2:1. Now 2:1 is the simplest form of this 50:25. Both the ratios are same. Okay. Now in order to do this operation, converting into same or converting into lowest form, the property which we have used is property number 2. Okay, understood? So there are two properties of ratio. Number one says that we can multiply any constant number to both the antecedent and consequent, and second property says that to any ratio we can divide the same constant number. Okay, any doubt? If you have any doubt, you can drop a message. Okay, understood? Now after covering the properties, we are going to understand comparison of ratios. Comparison of ratios. Okay. Now imagine there are two ratios. Say for example A is to B, and there is another ratio which is C is to D. Now if I want you to compare which ratio is bigger, then how you are going to compare? Okay. So for comparison, see, there are two ways. For example, I have to take a number so that I can make you understand in a better way. ठीक है, मान लेते हैं कि दो कोई रेशियोज दिया है और उसको हमको कंपेयर करके बताना है कि दोनों रेशियोज में से ये हमारा रेशियो 1 है एंड ये हमारा रेशियो 2 है, तो हमारा रेशियो 1 बड़ा है या रेशियो 2 बड़ा है, राइट? सो फॉर दैट देयर आर टू प्रोसेस. एक बहुत ट्रेडिशनल प्रोसेस है जो सब जानते हैं, और एक हमारा शॉर्टकट होगा. ठीक है, शॉर्टकट इज समथिंग विच यू हैव टू कीप इन योर माइंड, बिकॉज एग्जाम में हमें टाइम और एक्यूरेसी दोनों को बढ़ाना है, राइट? सो टाइम वी कैन सेव यूजिंग दिस शॉर्टकट ट्रिक्स. ओके, नाउ व्हाट इज द ट्रेडिशनल मेथड? सपोज करो एक एग्जांपल ले लेते हैं 3:4 एंड देन देयर इज अ नंबर कॉल्ड 1:2. ठीक है, अभी इन दोनों को हमको कंपेयर करना है कि कौन बड़ा है, राइट? सो 3:4 कैन बी रिटन एज 3/4 एंड 1:2 कैन बी रिटन एज 1/2. ओके, नाउ वी हैव टू कन्वर्ट द डिनोमिनेटर इन बोथ द रेशियोज एज सेम. ठीक है, हमको ये जो डिनोमिनेटर यहाँ 4 और यहाँ 2 है ना, इसको हमको कन्वर्ट करके सेम कन्वर्ट करना पड़ेगा, सेम नंबर में लाना पड़ेगा, राइट? वो हम कैसे ला सकते हैं? यूजिंग एलसीएम. नाउ व्हाट इज द एलसीएम ऑफ 4? फर्स्ट वी हैव टू फाइंड द एलसीएम ऑफ डिनोमिनेटर. सो व्हाट इज द एलसीएम ऑफ डिनोमिनेटर? दैट इज 4 and 2. So of course the LCM of denominator would be 4. Okay, so now how we can convert 4 into 4? So basically 4 is already in 4, so we not need to do anything. Even though if you want, you can multiply with 1 only. Okay, you will get 4. Now how we can convert 2 into 4? So we can convert 2 into 4 by multiplying 2. And as per the property which we have learned above, if we are multiplying in the denominator, see, we have to multiply the same number in the numerator. So now since I have multiplied in the denominator, I have to multiply in the numerator as well. So it will become 2/4. Now see, both the denominators become same. Can you see this? Let me change the color so that I can highlight it. Yeah. So now there is two ratios which is in front of you. Number 1 is this and number 2 is this. Now if I ask you to see the denominator, now the denominator is same, 3/4 and 2/4. Now if you have this particular two ratios, you just need to now, once the denominator is same, अब denominator आपका same हो गया, आपको सिर्फ numerator देखना और बताना कौन सा बड़ा है. So the answer is very simple, कि पहला वाला जो नंबर होगा that is 3. This is going to be simple. Okay, this is going to be greater. So this is traditional method and time taking one. Okay, now I am going to take you to this particular shortcut trick. Now shortcut trick says that there is a ratio called 3:4, that is 3/4, and there is another ratio that is 1:2. Okay, I would just tell you to cross multiply. The moment you cross multiply 3 into 2, 6, 4 into 1, 4. From there only you can get an idea which number is bigger. Of course 6 is bigger, so that means this fraction, this ratio is bigger than this one. I hope it is clear. If it is not clear, please tell me. Please check. I'm giving 30 seconds time. Please check up to this is clear to everyone or not. Is this trick is clear to everyone? You all need to just multiply, cross multiply, and then you have to tell me which ratios is bigger. Okay, understood? Any doubt? Okay, now let's do a question based on this. So if I give you one ratio 1:2, okay, and another ratio is 2:1/2, so this is the ratio 1, antecedent consequent, and then I'm going to give you another ratio which is 3:5. Okay, now you have to tell me which ratio is bigger or greater. Which one is greater. That's what is required from you all. Okay, I hope you can give it, you can reply this. Now how you can write it down, the answer? So first of all, what you have to do is you have to convert this ratio 1 into its simplest form. Okay, like ratio 2. Okay, now I already taught you how to convert. Okay, so first of all you have to multiply this 2 into 1, so that is basically 2 and plus 1. So 2 plus 1 will give you 3 by 2, and the second term would become 2 into 2, 4, 4 plus 1, so that is 4 plus 1 is 5 by 2. Okay, now you can see in this particular ratio, this 2 and this 2 is same, you can eliminate it out directly. Okay, now what is left is 3:4, sorry 3:5. So this is 3:5, and this ratio is also 3:5. So now if I ask you to compare between these two ratios, so both the ratios are equal. Both the ratios are equal. Any doubt till now? If you have any doubt, you can ask me. But I don't think so कि up to this there would be any doubt. So in this question the ratios were actually same. Okay, even though they are not looking same in this question format, but you can see once you are converting it into the list form, you can see that both the ratios are in the same form. Okay, now one note I am going to give you from this. Just a minute. One simple note you can note it down from here is that A is to B and B is to A. Is it both the ratios are same? If I interchange the numbers or the terms of the ratio, and then if I ask you that both are same, the answer would be no. Always remember. Okay, A is to B is not equals to B is to A. Okay, if A is not equal to B, if A is not equals to B, then this condition is going to be always occur. मतलब A is to B और B is to A बराबर नहीं है. That means it is the order of the ratio, order of the terms of the ratio, terms of the ratio. That means ratio में जो terms होते हैं ना, उनका अपने एक fixed order होता है. If you are going to change the order, certainly ratio का वैल्यू भी चेंज हो जाएगा. से फॉर एग्जाम्पल 3:2 एक रेशियो है एंड 2:3 ये एक अनदर रेशियो है. अब ये दोनों रेशियो आपस में बराबर नहीं है. ठीक है, अंडरस्टूड? हाँ, ये दोनों रेशियोज बराबर कब हो सकते हैं? जब ए और बी का वैल्यू सेम हो जाए, है ना. सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर ए और बी का वैल्यू 2 हो गया तो हम लिख सकते हैं 2:2. नाउ इफ यू इंटरचेंज द 2:2, इट विल बी द सेम 2:2. ओके, तब आप बोल सकते हैं सेम हो सकता है, राइट. सो दैट मीन्स इफ ए इक्वल्स टू बी, then only you can say that A is to B would be equals to B is to A. Otherwise, in all the cases, it won't be equal. Understood? So this is your point 2 and this is was your point 1. Okay? Please note it down. This is condition for the second point. This is condition for the first point. Any doubt till now? Any doubt? No doubt? Great. Now let's understand, after understanding the order as well as this particular, how to identify the greater ratio. Okay, again I'm going to give you one ratio. Okay, say for example if I give you find which ratio is greater. Okay, which ratio is greater? One answer is 2.5 is to 1.5. One ratio is this one. Another ratio is maybe 1:2. Okay, this is our second ratio. Now from these two ratios, among these two ratios, you have to tell me which ratio is bigger. Okay. So I would suggest you to please use the chat option and then comment your answer. Okay. Now how you are going to compare the ratios? First of all, you have to convert into simplest form or the standard form of the ratio. So the first ratio is 2.5 is to 1.5. Okay. Now how can you write this ratio? So we all know once you remove the decimal, you have to keep 0. Again, if you remove the decimal, you have to keep the 0. Now you can simply eliminate this 10-10. So what is left is, क्या बचा है, 25:15 बचा है हमारे पास, ठीक है ना। 25:15 को हम कैसे लिख सकते हैं, 25/15। अभी देखो इन दोनों में कॉमन फैक्टर है, दोनों के दोनों 5 से डिविजिबल है, राइट। सो हम लोग क्या करेंगे, इसको 5 से एलिमिनेट कर देंगे। सो इन द टेबल ऑफ 5, 25 goes 5 टाइम एंड 15 goes 3 टाइम। तो हमारा जो रेशियो आएगा वो आएगा 5:3। सो हमारा जो अब रेशियो मिला हमें वो दैट इज़ आवर 5:3। प्लीज़ हाईलाइट दिस 5:3 और कीप दिस as our ratio number 1. Got it? So now this is our ratio number 1 and already we have a ratio 2 which is in simplest or the standard form. You can see 1:2. Okay, now what we are expected to do, so the first ratio, just a second, yeah, so the first ratio is 5:3 and now the second ratio which is there is 1:2. Any doubt till now? Now how we are going to compare? First of all I'll write 5/3 and just a second, I'll write 5/3 and then the second ratio I have to write it like 1/2. Now all I need to do is just cross multiply. Okay, even you not need to multiply, tell me mentally by calculating mental calculation. Okay, 2 into 5 is 10 and 3 into 1 is 3. So basically 3/5 would be greater than this value because 2 into 5 will give you 10 and 3 into 1 will give you 3. Of course this is bigger, hence I can say that this ratio number 1 is bigger than ratio number 2. Any doubt? Till now if you have any doubt you can ask me and tell me. No doubt? Understood? Great. So moving forward, multiple questions are based on this particular concept of greater ratio, lesser ratio, okay, or there will be questions where they will ask you to arrange, okay. So you can do on this particular following this rule, okay. Now let's understand, after covering this, now let's understand what is called compound ratio, okay. Compound ratio. Now what do you mean by compound ratio? So compound ratio is basically compounding two ratios. Now what is the meaning of compounding two ratios? Compounding is nothing but the process of multiplication, okay. So suppose there is a ratio called A:B and there is a ratio called X:Y. Now if I am asking you to find the compound ratio of these two ratios, that means I am asking you to multiply, just a second, I am asking you to multiply this A/B and this X/Y. That's it. This is called compounding. The moment you compound, what is going to happen? You are going to multiply the numerator with numerator and denominator with denominator. So if I am not wrong, I have to write AX upon BY. Now what is AX? So if I have to write AX is nothing but the product of antecedent. Please cross check whether I am saying correct or not. A and X are antecedent of both the ratios. So that means product of antecedent we have did. Okay? I am writing in short form. And in the denominator if you observe, it is nothing but the product of consequent. So I have to write product means multiplication, product of consequent. Any doubt till now? Okay, I can see students are replying in the chat box of the previous question and they are absolutely correct. Very good. I can see the name is very unique one. Okay, some moon is there. Very okay. So the moon has given the correct answer. Very good. Very good. So that is something I am expecting from you all. Okay. So that there will be a two-way communication, even though it's virtual mode, but we can communicate. There is a channel we can communicate, right? Great. So now let's understand this compound ratios. So I hope now it is understood what is the meaning of compounding. Compounding is nothing but product, finding the product of the ratios, okay. And what it is, what is compound ratios? So compound ratios is basically the ratios which are obtained by multiplying the antecedent together and consequent together, okay. So if you multiply this and then this, then you express in the ratio form. So if you express in a ratio form, it would be product, just a second, yeah, so it would be product of antecedent or the first term, okay, is to product of consequent. product of consequent. I hope it is clear to everyone. So this ratio of product of antecedent and product of consequent is called compound ratio. I hope it is now clear. Any doubt? If you have any doubt, you can ask me right away. Okay, please note it down. And now let's do some examples based on this. Are you understanding? Any doubt? Any doubt? Okay, great. Now let's understand one example based on this. Okay, if I tell you to please find the compound ratio of 2:3 and 5:4. So now this is a very simple question. You can do it very easily. How we can do that? Just a second. Yeah. So we can basically solve it like this. So first of all, I'll write the ratio 2:3 as 2/3, and then I'll write the second ratio, which is 5:4, as 5/4. Now all I need to do is just multiply. So it would be like 2 into 5, 10, and then 3 into 4, that is 12. Okay. Now if you convert this, is there any common factor to eliminate out? Answer is yes. There is a common factor to eliminate out. And what is that common factor to eliminate out? 2. In the table of 2, 10 goes 5 times, and in the table of 2, 12 goes 6 times. So now it would become 6/5, which is nothing but 5:6. So our answer to this question is 5:6. This is our compound ratio of these two given ratios. I hope now it is clear. Compound ratios. Done? Okay, great. Now after understanding compound ratios, we are going to understand inverse of a ratio. Please give the heading inverse of a ratio. Now how to find inverse of a ratio? It is very simple to understand. See, inverse of a ratio, the word itself give you an idea. नाम में ही वजूद छुपा हुआ है, राइट? इनवर्स, इनवर्स का मतलब क्या होता है? किसी भी रेशियो को अगर आप उसको फ्लिप कर दो, उसके न्यूमरेटर डिनोमिनेटर दैट इज एंटीसेडेंट कॉन्सिक्वेंट को इंटरचेंज कर दो, so whatever you are receiving or getting is the inverse of that particular ratio. So imagine if there is a ratio, imagine if there is a ratio A is to B, so inverse of that ratio would be nothing but B is to A. A is to B means A by B, right? B is to A means B by A, correct? So I hope now the idea is clear to you. What do I mean by inverse? So by inverse I meant to understand is you just need to interchange the elements or the terms. Okay, see, so that is creating the inverse of the ratio, and in fraction it looks something like this. Okay, A by B can be written as B by A. Now if I give you one example, say for example, find the inverse ratio of, find the inverse ratio of, find the inverse ratio of maybe 1:3. Very easy question. How to find the inverse of 1:3? So inverse of 1:3 can be easily obtained by interchanging the position. So basically it will give you, the answer would be very simple. Anyone who can write the answer in the chat box? Anyone? Okay, so answer is very simple, 3:1. We just need to interchange the position, right? And that's what we have done. And this is the inverse ratio of 1:3. Any doubt? No doubt? Now see, these are very basic things. Okay, now I'm going to mix this inverse and compound, and then I'm going to give you a frame of question. Okay, now the question is very simple. Find the compound ratio of 5:4 and the inverse of, you have to find the compound ratios of 5:3, and the other ratio with which you have to find, or which you have to compound it, is basically the inverse of maybe 16:20. Got it? Understood? That means what you need to do is, first of all you have to find the inverse of this, and then you have to find the compound with this ratio. Okay, so find the compound ratio of 5:4 and the inverse of 16:20. That means please read the question properly, because as I told you always, right, if you are reading the question properly, half of the job is done. आधा काम आपका वहीं पे खत्म हो गया, ठीक है, अगर आपने क्वेश्चन ठीक से पढ़ लिया, ठीक है. बचा जो हाफ वर्क है वो आपका कैलकुलेशंस पे डिपेंड करता है, राइट. नाउ हाउ वी कैन डू दैट? So first of all we'll try to find the inverse of this given. Just a minute. Yeah. So first of all I'm going to find the inverse of 16:20. So the inverse of 16:20 is very simple. It will become 20:16. Over. Now since I have the inverse of this, now I have to find the compound ratio of 5:4 and this 20:16. Now how to find compound ratios? So basically compound ratio of 5:4, and the second ratio is now given as 20:16. We have obtained the inverse of that. Now you tell me how to find this. How to find the compound of this? It's very simple. 4/5 multiplied by 20/16. So all you need to do is multiply 5 with 20, so that is basically 100, and then 4 with 16. How much? 64, right? So this is something you will get, but now you can convert it into like eliminating the factors common between numerator and denominator, right? So now just calculate and tell me, in both the numbers are divisible by 2, so 50 times, and it is also divisible by 2, 3 and 2. Okay, again it is divisible by 2, so it will become 25, and it will become 1 and then 6. Now it is not going to be divisible, so 25/16 is what we are left with, and यहाँ से हमारा जो रेशियो बनेगा that is 25:16. बोलो समझ में आया सबको? हम लोगों ने सबसे पहले क्या किया, हम लोगों ने क्वेश्चन में जिसका इन्वर्स निकालने बोला, हम लोगों ने सबसे पहले उसका इन्वर्स निकाला. Got it? So इन्वर्स ऑफ दिस 16:20 इज़ वेरी सिंपल. फिर हम लोगों ने इस वाले रेशियो को लेकर इसके संग कंपाउंड कर दिया. दैट्स इट. कंपाउंडिंग इज नथिंग बट प्रोडक्ट. देखो हम लोगों ने इसका प्रोडक्ट कर दिया. जैसे प्रोडक्ट के मल्टीप्लाई हुआ उसके बाद हम लोगों ने उसका सिंपलेस्ट फॉर्म में कन्वर्ट कर दिया. ठीक है, अब ये इससे ज़्यादा सिंप्लीफाई नहीं हो सकता. गॉट इट? एनी डाउट? एनीवन हैविंग एनी डाउट? टेल मी. इफ यू आर अंडरस्टैंडिंग देन यू कैन click on the like button so that I can understand that you people are understanding. Okay, got it? No doubt? Great. Now after compound ratios, okay, after compound ratios, if I tell you that we are going to understand types of ratios, so there are how many types of ratios? Tell me, how many types of ratios are there? So if I tell you, ratios are basically of 3 types. Number 1, ratio of greater inequality. What is the meaning of this greater inequality? So ratio, the word itself gives you a complete idea. Greater inequality. So greater inequality means whenever, suppose there is a ratio called A:B. I have taken a general ratio A:B. Now in this ratio, if A is greater than B, we call it, this type of ratios we call it as ratio of greater inequality, where antecedent is greater than consequent. Okay, always remember this fact. Just a second here. Where antecedent, I am writing in short, antecedent is greater than consequent. Okay, so that type of ratios comes under the heading of greater inequality. For example, 5:3. So in this ratio you can see the first one, 5, is greater than the second one or the consequent. Okay, now let's understand the second type of ratios, which are ratios of lesser inequality. I'm just giving like this, ratio of lesser inequality. Any doubt? Now, ratio of lesser inequality, again the word itself suggests the meaning, right? Lesser inequality means it is a ratio where A is smaller than B. That means it is the ratio where antecedent is now smaller than consequent. Okay. Now, if you find the inverse of 5 by 3, what you will get? 3:5, right? So that means, now this is something you can call it as ratio of lesser inequality, because 3 is less than 5. I hope it is clear. Any doubt? If you have any doubt, you can ask me. No doubt? Great. Now the third ratio is basically ratio of equality. Ratio of equality. Just a second. Now what is ratio of equality? That you have to understand, okay? Ratio of equality means, again the name itself, equality. What is the meaning of equality? Equality क्या होता है? Equality का मतलब जब कोई भी दो चीज़ बराबर हो जाए, right? तो इस केस में जब A और B का वैल्यू बराबर हो जाए, उसको हम कहेंगे रेशियो ऑफ इक्वालिटी. कोई डाउट? किसी भी बच्चे को कोई डाउट, प्लीज टेल मी. अगर समझ में आ रहा है तो लाइक बटन पे हिट कर दो, सो दैट आई कैन अंडरस्टैंड. ओके. नाउ एक एग्जांपल दे देते हैं. सो फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू सी, लेट्स से फॉर एग्जांपल अगर हम लोग कोई नंबर ले लेते हैं 3:3. सो दिस इज द रेशियो ऑफ इक्वालिटी, बिकॉज देखो एंटीसिडेंट और कॉन्सिक्वेंट दोनों बराबर है. अच्छा, नाउ इफ आई आस्क यू व्हाट इज द सिंपलेस्ट फॉर्म ऑफ दिस 3:3, यू विल टेल मी 1:1. सो ऑलवेज रिमेंबर 1:1 इज द final answer of ratio of equality. So whenever I am talking about ratio of equality, the simplest form would be 1:1 only. Okay, understood? Is that clear? Three types of ratios and the identification as well. How you are going to understand that which ratio is greater than equality, lesser than equality, or equality. Now there is a word associated with all these three types. There is something called inequality. Why we are using this inequality in the first two cases? Because always remember, when there is a equal to sign, it forms equation. Okay, and if there is no equal to, if there is lesser than or greater than symbol, then it forms inequality. And that is the reason why, if you can see this, there is greater than symbol, there is lesser than symbol. Let me change the color of the pen so that I can highlight more. Just one. Now see, this is lesser than, this is greater than. So because of this symbols, दिस वर्ड इज बिन इनकॉर्पोरेटेड. इन सिंबल्स की वजह से इन वर्ड्स को हम लोगों ने रखा है. ठीक है, समझ में आ रही है बात? मतलब ये जो हमारे सिंबल्स है ग्रेटर देन और लेसर देन, इसीलिए, और अभी थोड़ा देर पहले मैंने बताया ना कि अगर आपको कहीं पे ऐसा सिंबल मिले जो इक्वल टू नहीं है, जहाँ इक्वल टू नहीं होगा वहाँ हमारा इनइक्वालिटी बन जाएगा. तो इसीलिए यहाँ पे इक्वल टू नहीं था, यहाँ जब इक्वल टू था तो इक्वालिटी आया, और जहाँ इक्वल टू नहीं था वहाँ इनइक्वालिटी आया. अब ग्रेटर देन लेसर देन क्यों, ये तो आपको पता है, बिकॉज पहला वाला सिंबल ग्रेटर देन है, सेकंड वाला सिंबल लेसर देन. कहानी खत्म. कोई दिक्कत यहाँ तक किसी बच्चे को नहीं है? श्योर? ग्रेट. सर, नाउ वी आर गोइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड. let me put a question for you. Find the inverse of 3:4 and hence find the compound ratio of given ratio, which is 3:4, and its inverse. Now see, this question has a logic, okay, and its inverse. So once you do this question, once you reach to the answer, you will observe that yes, there is a logic. What is the logic? Once you solve this question, you will be able to understand. Okay, so I would just suggest you all to please do the question and tell me the answer in the chat box. Okay, now what is the answer to this question? Solution to this particular question is, see, the inverse. First you have to find the inverse of 3:4. So the inverse of 3:4 can be easily obtained as 4:3. So this is basically the inverse of, I'm writing in short, inverse of 3:4 is our 4:3, right? Now after obtaining the inverse ratio, what we can do is we have to find the compound ratio. Okay, Now compound ratio between whom? Between the given ratio 3:4 and its inverse. The inverse of 3:4 is basically 4:3. So basically now we have to find, since compound ratio of 3:4 and 4:3, ठीक है. अगर हमको ये फाइंड करना पड़े, अब अगर कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट यहाँ से निकालना पड़े, ये बहुत इजी क्वेश्चन बन गया. ठीक है. नाउ व्हाट वी कैन डू इज, हम लोग सिंपली क्या कर सकते हैं, 3:4 को 3/4 लिखेंगे, 4:3 को 4/3 लिखेंगे, मल्टीप्लाई करेंगे. और जब ये मल्टीप्लाई करेंगे हम लोगों को ये ऑब्जर्व हो रहा है या हम ये देख पा रहे हैं कि यहाँ पे क्या होगा, ये 4 जो है डिनोमिनेटर वाला, इट कैन बी इजीली एलिमिनेटेड आउट विद दिस 4 एंड दिस 3 कैन बी एलिमिनेटेड आउट विद दिस 3. सो हमारा जो आंसर बचेगा दैट विल बी 1/1. सो फाइनली आई कैन सी दैट 1:1. अभी हमने पढ़ाया 1:1. सो व्हाट इज 1:1? इट इज़ व्हाट टाइप ऑफ रेशियो? इट इज़ द रेशियो ऑफ इक्वालिटी. ओके, दैट मीन्स हम लोग जब कभी भी किसी भी रेशियो को उसी के इनवर्स से मल्टीप्लाई करेंगे, द आंसर वुड बी ऑलवेज रेशियो ऑफ इक्वालिटी. कोई डाउट किसी बच्चे को यहाँ तक? इफ यू हैव एनी डाउट यू कैन आस्क मी. नो डाउट? ग्रेट. कैन आई मूव अहेड? ओके, नाउ वी आर गोइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड, आफ्टर दिस क्वेश्चन वी आर गोइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड few important terminologies which are related with this chapter of ratio. Okay, that is duplicate ratios, subduplicate ratios. So we are now going to understand few important terminologies related with this chapter. Okay, so the first one would be duplicate ratio. What is duplicate ratio? सी, डुप्लीकेट रेशियो को अगर हम कॉमन लैंग्वेज में समझे, डुप्लीकेट का मतलब क्या होता है, एक जैसा ही दो ऑब्जेक्ट. तो इमेजिन करो कि अगर हमारे पास एक रेशियो है A:B और ऐसा ही एक और रेशियो है A:B, इसको डुप्लीकेट करने का मतलब इसको आप बेसिकली इसका कंपाउंड निकालो, है ना. तो जब आप इसका कंपाउंड निकालोगे तो हमको पता है कंपाउंड में क्या होता है, पहला वाला पहले से मल्टीप्लाई होता है और बाद वाला बाद से मल्टीप्लाई होता है, लाइक द प्रोडक्ट ऑफ एंटीसीडेंट एंड द प्रोडक्ट ऑफ कॉन्सिक्वेंट. अगर आप ऐसा करते हो तो बताओ A इंटू ए कितना आएगा, A². लॉ ऑफ एंटीसिस का बेसिक रूल है ये. एंड B इंटू बी कितना आएगा, B इंटू बी हमारा B² आएगा, राइट. सो दैट मीन्स दिस A² इज टू B² इज नथिंग बट द डुप्लीकेट रेशियो ऑफ, इट इज़ नथिंग बट द डुप्लीकेट रेशियो ऑफ A:B. हम लोग यहाँ पे काम करते हैं, ऐसे नोट कर देते हैं, डुप्लीकेट रेशियो ऑफ A:B. So in that case if I tell you duplicate ratio of A:B हमारा क्या होता है, तो डुप्लीकेट रेशियो में बेसिकली हम लोग उसको स्क्वायरिंग कर देते हैं. ठीक है. सो यू कैन इवन अंडरस्टैंड इन दिस वे, स्क्वायरिंग टर्म्स. इफ यू आर डूइंग स्क्वायरिंग यू आर बेसिकली ट्राइंग टू फाइंड द डुप्लीकेट रेशियो ऑफ द गिवन रेशियो. से फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर मैं आपको एक क्वेश्चन दूँ, फाइंड द डुप्लीकेट रेशियो ऑफ, find the duplicate ratio of, say for example 3:2. So what would be your answer? Now the answer is very simple. All you need to do is you just need to square it. So if you square this 3 and then if you square this 2, the answer would be very simple, 9:4. So that means 9:4 is a duplicate ratio of, it's a duplicate ratio of 3:2. Done? एंड आउट. अच्छा, एक क्वेश्चंस करते हैं बेस्ड ऑन दिस डुप्लीकेट रेशियो, दैट इज वेरी सिंपल. फाइंड द वैल्यू ऑफ x. फाइंड द वैल्यू ऑफ x if maybe let me just write if, just a second. Yeah, if 81:x is a duplicate ratio of, the duplicate ratio of 9:5. चलो, बहुत इजी क्वेश्चन है. Now you have to find the value of x. Where is x? This is x. You have to find this value of x where Now 81 is to x is the duplicate ratio of 9 is to 5. Okay. Anyone who got this answer, please write in the chat box so that I can understand that you people are understanding. Done? Okay, now see. So 81 is to x is basically the duplicate ratio of, it's a duplicate ratio of 9 is to 5. That means once you do 9 square and then 5 square, then whatever comes is your duplicate ratio, right? Okay, so that means 9 square is to 5 square would be the value of 81 is to x. So 9 square stands for 81, whereas 5 square stands for x. So from there you can simply write x equals to 5 square, which is nothing but 25. Any doubt? Up to this, any doubt? So the answer to this question is 25. Okay? Understood everyone? See, this is the reason I have told you several times. Again I am saying you have to learn and mark up the squares and cubes of up to 20. Up to 20 कम से कम आपको squares और cubes याद होने चाहिए. If you are not in a state कि आप उसको recall कर पाओ instantly, then time is something which you cannot save in the examination hall. Okay, so that is why I am asking you to please mark up all the squares and cubes. Okay, up to 20. Done? Any doubt? Now after covering this, number one, that is duplicate. Now let's understand what is sub-duplicate ratio. What is sub-duplicate ratio? So sub-duplicate ratio is nothing. Sub-duplicate ratio of A is to B. Suppose we have A is to B a ratio and we have to find the sub-duplicate ratio of that. So just do the square root to both the terms. So in the first case, when we are looking for duplicate ratio, we have done squaring both the terms. In this case, we have to take the root both the terms. So if you take the root to both the terms, square root basically, square root to both all terms, then it will give you square root to all terms, then it would give you this something called sub-duplicate ratio. Okay, any doubt? So square root to all terms, if you do that, you will get this sub-duplicate ratios. Okay, say for example, if I give you 144 is to 169. Okay, now I am asking you to find the sub-duplicate ratio of this given ratio. Okay, so the answer is very simple. You have to do square root of 144 and then you have to do the square root of 169. Now see, again here we are going to use a square root. That is why I am asking you to please remember, mug up whatever is feasible for you, please do that. Okay, any doubt? If you have any doubt, you can ask me right now. No doubt? Great. So now let's understand how we can write 144 and how we can write root 169. So root 144 is nothing but 12 and root 169 is nothing but 13. Okay, so the sub-duplicate ratio of the given ratios is nothing but 12 is to 13. Any doubt till now? No doubt? Great. Now let's understand third term, which is triplicate ratio. Triplicate ratio. Now what is triplicate ratio? Again, the name itself suggests triplicate means, duplicate means we are taking the same ratio twice and then compound it. Now in case of triplicate, we have to take the same ratio for 3 times and then if you compound it, for example, A is to B, again A is to B, again A is to B. So tell me, if there is 3 terms, what you can do is A cube is to B cube, because you are multiplying A for 3 times and then you are multiplying B for 3 times. Okay, so that is why A cube is to B cube is your triplicate ratio. Any doubt? Any doubt, anyone? If you have any doubt, you can ask me. No doubt? Great. Now let's understand how to find a triplicate ratio. एक क्वेश्चन देखते हैं, उसमें समझेंगे कैसे ट्रिप्लिकेट रेशियो फाइंड करना है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर हम दे दें फाइंड ट्रिप्लिकेट रेशियो ऑफ मे बी 4:3. ठीक है, सो 4:3 का ट्रिप्लिकेट रेशियो कैसे फाइंड करेंगे? इट्स वेरी सिंपल. ऑल यू नीड टू डू इज, जो आपको करना है वो बस इतना ही करना है कि आपको बस क्यूब निकाल देना है. एंड आई होप एवरीबडी इज लाइक अवेयर अबाउट क्यूब. सी दिस इज द रीजन आई एम टेलिंग यू अगेन एंड अगेन, यू शुड रिमेंबर स्क्वायर्स अप टू 20. in fact cubes up to 20. ठीक है, so that you people can be, you should have an edge in an examination. This competitive exam is all about speed and accuracy. जिस बच्चे का स्पीड और एक्यूरेसी है वो खेल जाएगा, है ना. सो आपको क्या करना है, यहाँ पे 4 का क्यूब निकालना है और यहाँ पे 3 का क्यूब निकालना है. ओके, सो एवरीबडी नोज 4 क्यूब इज नथिंग बट 64 and 3 क्यूब इज नथिंग बट 27. So the answer to this question is 64:27. Done. Any doubt? If you have no doubt, please solve this question. Find y if you can say 1,331 is to y is a triplicate ratio of maybe is a triplicate ratio of 11 is to 7. Okay. Now again, this is a very simple question. What you have to find? You have to find the value of y such that this ratio is a triplicate ratio of the given ratio. Okay. Even there are multiple modifications can be done in these questions to make it more like the complex one. Like instead of this 11, I can put it as x. So you can compare and you can get it down. Okay. But as of now, we'll solve these questions only. So in these questions, what we know, this is the given ratio 11:7, and we know it is saying that we have to find triplicate ratio. So triplicate ratio is nothing but cubing both the terms of the ratio. So if you do that, what you get? You get the given ratio, which is 1,331:11. Now see, 11 cube is our 1,331 and 7 cube would be basically a y. So from there I can say that the value of y is nothing but 7 cube. Any doubt? And 7 cube is what? 343. So see, this is why I am asking you and telling you again and again that you have to learn this particular cubes and squares. Any doubt? If you have any doubt, you can ask me. No doubt? Okay. Now see, after understanding this triplicate, there is another term which is called subtriplicate. Subtriplicate. Now what is this subtriplicate ratio? So just like subduplicate, we are going to understand subtriplicate. Now in subduplicate, what it did? So in duplicate we have squared, in subduplicate we have removed the square using roots, right? So similarly in case of triplicate we have done cubes. Now in subtriplicate we will just remove the cube by using cube roots. Okay, so suppose we have a ratio called a:b and subtriplicate ratio of a:b is cube root of a and then cube root of b. So it is very simple, cube root of a and then cube root of b will be in ratio. That's it. That's all you need to do. Okay, understood? Now for example, if I give you one example based on this, suppose there is a number called 125:64. Okay, got it? Now 125, if I tell you to please find the subtriplicate ratio of this, let me write the question so that you people can write and understand. Okay, so please write it down. Find subtriplicate ratio subtriplicate ratio of the given ratio, this. Okay. Now how can you find this subtriplicate ratio? So subtriplicate ratio can be easily obtained using cube root, right? So I'll just do the cube root of 125 and then I'll do the cube root of 64. Okay. Now there are few students who can have query in that, so let me make it more simple, है ना. देखो क्यूब रूट को जब आप पावर में लेके जाते हो, सपोज करो यहाँ पे एक्स क्यूब है, ठीक है, और आप जब इस क्यूब रूट को पावर में लेके जाते हो तो ये जो हमारा क्यूब रूट है पावर में जाते ही वन, ये जो क्यूब रूट 3 है, दिस इज कॉल्ड ऑर्डर ऑफ द रूट. जैसे आप इसको पावर में लेके जाते हो ये रेसिप्रोकल हो जाता है. क्या हो जाता है? रेसिप्रोकल हो जाता है. अंदर में ऑलरेडी आपके पास क्या था? एक्स क्यूब था. अब आप ध्यान से देखो तो ये क्यूब और ये क्यूब कैंसिल आउट होकर सिर्फ और सिर्फ एक्स बचेगा. सिमिलरली आपको बस ये देखना है कि 125 किसका क्यूब होता है? 5 का. और जैसे ही आप इस क्यूब रूट को पावर में लेके जाओगे ये 1/3 हो जाएगा. देन यू हैव 64. 64 किसका क्यूब होता है? 4 का. एंड जैसे ही आप क्यूब रूट को पावर में लेके जाओगे दिट विल बी 1/3. सो नाउ यू कैन एलिमिनेट डाउन दिस. सो फाइनली हमारा आंसर कितना बचेगा? 5:4. इज दैट क्लियर टू एवरीवन? सो 5:4 इज अ सब ट्रिप्लिकेट रेशियो ऑफ द गिवन रेशियो. एनी डाउट टिल नाउ? If you have any doubt, you can ask me. No doubt? Great. So this was about sub-triplicate ratios. Okay. And let's quickly recap whatever we have covered. Okay. After a topic, okay, let me tell you one property, or you can say one important aspects of ratio is, suppose there is a ratio called A is to B is given. And again there is a ratio B is to C is given. Okay. Now if I want to find, if I ask you to find A is to C, then how can you find? Okay. You can take it as a question as well. Now how we can find? We have A is to B and B is to C. So that means A is to B can be written as A by B and B is to C can be written as B by C. Now imagine if I do the compound of that. Okay, so what will happen? We'll multiply this with this and then we'll multiply this with this. So if I multiply these two together, so what I'm going to get is basically, just a minute. Yeah. So if I multiply this, so basically you can see this B got eliminated out and we are left with A by C, which is nothing but A is to C. So that means in order to find A is to C from this given two ratios, we have to multiply it like this. If I multiply it like this, then the common terms would be eliminated out and you are left with this. Okay. Now let's do a questions on this. Okay. So now imagine if A is to B is given as 1:3 and if B is to C is given as 3:5. From there if I ask you to please find the value of A is to C. Okay. Now tell me, A is to C means what? A by C. Can I write A by C as A by B into B by C? Now one thing I want you to like highlight, just give me 1 second. Yeah, I want this point to be highlighted, that see I have added this B from my own and I have basically counted the same B by multiplying the numerator. Okay, I told you we can divide or multiply any ratio. There is a property number 1 and property number 2 which we have covered in this class. Let me show you again just for the recap purpose. So in the properties we have seen that we can multiply any constant number to both the terms of the ratios. Okay, so see this property I was talking about, property number 1. Can you see that? So in this property we have seen that we can multiply any constant number. So using this property I can say that, using this property number 1 I can say that we can multiply any constant number in a given ratios. Okay, so that is what I am doing in this case. That is exactly what I am going to do in this question. I am basically going to multiply a constant number, that is B, to both the numerator as well as denominator. Okay, now what I am going to achieve with this multiplication? I have certainly got a ratio A by B and then I got a ratio called B by C. And luckily if you see the question, you fortunately have the value of A is to B. What is the value of A is to B? I'll just put it here. That is 1/3. And then we have the value of B by C as well. But what is the value? That is 3/5. Okay. Now since I have the value, I'll eliminate this 3 3. What is the result I got? 1 by 5. End it out. So this is our answer of this particular question. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. Okay? No doubt? Now similarly, if I give you, now imagine there are more than 2 ratios. A is to B is one ratio, then B is to C is another ratio, and then C is to D is another ratio. So from this, if the question is asking you find the value of A is to D, then how we are going to find the value of A is to D? So basically you have to multiply all the given ratios. If you multiply all the given ratio or you do the compounding of that, you will certainly reach to the value of A is to D. How, sir? See, A, first ratio is A by B, second is B by C, third is C by D. So if you multiply all this together, so you can see that this got eliminated, this got eliminated, you have finally reached to A by D, which is nothing but A is to D. So in order to get A is to D, what you have to do is, you have to basically, just give me 1 second, you have to basically multiply all the given possible ratios. So this ratios would be given in this question and this would be asked in the question. So what you have to do is, whatever given, you have to just multiply. If you multiply, you will observe that these terms are going to be eliminated out and we are left with only extreme terms. Okay. In proportion, we'll discuss this in a more detailed way because it is a sort of continued proportion. Okay. So we'll discuss this when we are going to start proportion in the next class. Okay. So that's it for today's session. I hope the session was interesting for those who are watching it for the first time. I know it was repeated content for those who have seen before already or done my classes before already. Okay. But from the next session, it would be like new to everyone. Okay. So just a quick recap, whatever we have done. So in this entire session, so first of all, we have started from ratios. Okay. So just I'm going to summarize whatever we have done in today's session. Okay. So I just request everyone to pay attention for next just 5 minutes. Okay. Let me start it from here. Okay. So today we have understood what is ratio. So ratios is nothing but the comparison between 2 or more quantities. Okay. The quantities has to be of same kind as well as of same unit. Okay. Then we have understood, just a minute, let me take the highlighter. Just a minute. Give me 1 minute. Yeah. So now see, so first of all we have seen ratios. So what are ratios? We have learned that ratios are nothing but the comparison. Okay. Then we have seen it is a comparison of two or more objects and the object has to be of same kind as well as same unit. Then we have understood what do I mean by same kind. The physical states should be same, like mass with mass, weight with weight, and so on, right? Then we have covered same unit. So what do I mean by same unit? There are bigger and smaller unit like kilogram and then gram. Okay, and then centigram and milligram, right? So we have to convert all the unit into same and then we are able to find the ratio. Okay. Now, this is one of the conversion I have shown you with the help of which you can convert and you can express any ratio. Okay. Now you can see this. There is a question 5 kg and 10 kg. We have to express in ratio. So we have seen the representation of ratio. How we can represent a ratio? We will keep both the terms together after converting into same unit and then you will basically write like this. And one more thing we have learned in this very class is if there is scope to reduce it, we will reduce it to this simplest form. Now 5:10 can be reduced as 1:2. In the beginning of the class I didn't explain this because we haven't reached that simplest form. Now since after the completion we are aware about this, so अब हम लोग इसको कर सकते हैं. पहले हमें पता नहीं था लेकिन अब हमको पता है कि कैसे सिंपलेस्ट में करना है. सो 1:2 इज द सिंपलेस्ट फॉर्म. ओके. फिर हम लोगों ने देखा कि बेसिकली हमारा जो फिर हम लोगों ने देखा कि हमारा जो रेशियोज होता है उसका एक टर्म होता है विच इज़ फर्स्ट टर्म. There are 2 terms in the ratios. If there are 2 terms, the first one is antecedent and the second one is consequent, right? The first one is antecedent, second one is consequent. Got it? फिर हम लोगों ने क्वेश्चंस भी करा जिसमें हम लोगों ने एंटीसेंट कॉन्सिक्वेंट फाइंड नहीं किया. Got it? Now then we have understood कि रेशियो को हम लोग फ्रैक्शन की तरह एक्सप्रेस कर सकते हैं, राइट? सो दैट मीन्स A is to B can be expressed as A by B, where A is antecedent और जिसको आप न्यूमरेटर भी कह सकते हैं, B हमारा कॉन्सिक्वेंट है जिसको आप डिनोमिनेटर बोल सकते हैं. Got it? Now फिर हम लोगों ने देखा कि रेशियो और फ्रैक्शंस के बीच में एक माइनर से डिफरेंस है. व्हाट इज दैट? ये एक यूनिटलेस क्वांटिटी होता है, ये एक यूनिटफुल क्वांटिटी होता है. फिर हम लोगों ने डेफिनेशंस में भी देखा कि डिफरेंस है, ये कंपैरिजन और ये पार्ट ऑफ अ होल क्वांटिटी है. गॉट इट? फिर हम लोगों ने देखा कि रेशियोज को कैसे सिंपलेस्ट या लोएस्ट फॉर्म में कन्वर्ट कर सकते हैं बाय एलिमिनेटिंग देयर कॉमन फैक्टर्स. ग्रेटेस्ट कॉमन फैक्टर को हम लोगों ने एलिमिनेट किया और रेशियोज को हम लोगों ने सिंपलेस्ट फॉर्म में कन्वर्ट कर दिया. फिर फ्यू क्वेश्चंस हम लोगों ने इसके ऊपर सॉल्व करे विच इज़ वेरी सिंपल. एंड देन वी हैव अंडरस्टूड द प्रॉपर्टीज. दो प्रॉपर्टीज हम लोगों ने पढ़ा. प्रॉपर्टी नंबर 1 विच सेज दैट कि हमारा कोई भी अगर रेशियोज दिया है तो उसके दोनों टर्म में हम लोग सेम नंबर्स को मल्टीप्लाई कर सकते हैं या फिर सेम नंबर को डिवाइड भी कर सकते हैं. ठीक है, इससे हमारे रेशियो पे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. फिर हम लोगों ने देखा हाउ टू कंपेयर रेशियोज. तो रेशियोज को कैसे कंपेयर कर सकते हैं, हम लोगों ने दो मेथड देखा, ट्रेडिशनल वन एंड द शॉर्टकट वन. आपको शॉर्टकट फॉलो करना है, कुछ नहीं करना है. आपको रेशियोज को पहले सिंपलेस्ट फॉर्म में कन्वर्ट कर लेना है, लाइक A/B एंड C/D अगर कोई फ्रैक्शन या डेसिमल में है तो. एंड देन आपको बस क्रॉस मल्टीप्लाई करके आंसर्स देख लेना है कि विच वन इज ग्रेटर एंड विच वन इज स्मॉलर. अंडरस्टूड? फिर हम लोगों ने देखा एक इंपॉर्टेंट नोट कि रेशियो में एक ऑर्डर भी होता है. व्हाट इज दैट? ऑर्डर ऑफ द टर्म ऑफ द रेशियो. मतलब रेशियोज में जो दो टर्म होते हैं उनके ऑर्डर्स होते हैं. ठीक, फर्स्ट टर्म एंड सेकंड टर्म, इनके पोजीशन फिक्स्ड होते हैं. आप इसको इंटरचेंज नहीं कर सकते हो. अगर ए और बी का वैल्यू बराबर नहीं है तो, अगर ए और बी का वैल्यू बराबर नहीं है तो A/B का वैल्यू और B/A का वैल्यू भी बराबर नहीं होगा. ठीक है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल 3:2 इज नॉट इक्वल टू 2:3. ये हम लोगों ने देखा. फिर हम लोगों ने कुछ क्वेश्चंस बेस्ड उसके सॉल्व किए. देन वी हैव अंडरस्टूड कंपाउंड रेशियो. व्हाट इज कंपाउंड रेशियो? तो हम लोगों ने देखा कि कंपाउंड रेशियोज को ऑब्टेन करने के लिए हम लोग एंटीसीडेंट को एंटीसीडेंट से मल्टीप्लाई करते हैं, कॉन्सिक्वेंट को कॉन्सिक्वेंट से. तो प्रोडक्ट ऑफ एंटीसीडेंट एंड प्रोडक्ट ऑफ कॉन्सिक्वेंट जो होता है उनके रेशियोज को हम लोग कंपाउंड रेशियोज बोलते हैं. ठीक है, फिर आफ्टर अंडरस्टैंडिंग कंपाउंड हम लोगों ने एक इनवर्स रेशियो समझा कि इनवर्स रेशियोज को कैसे निकालते हैं. ठीक है, तो इनवर्स रेशियो को निकालने के लिए किसी भी रेशियोज का जो एंटीसीडेंट और कॉन्सिक्वेंट होता है उसको हम इन्वर्ट कर देते हैं. ठीक है, फिर हम लोगों ने डिटेल में करके क्वेश्चंस भी सॉल्व करे. लास्ट हम लोगों ने क्या देखा? 3 टाइप्स ऑफ रेशियोज. पहले रेशियोज हमने क्या पढ़ा? रेशियोज ग्रेटर इनइक्वालिटी. ठीक है, जिसमें पहला एंटीसीडेंट इज ग्रेटर देन कॉन्सिक्वेंट. फिर हम लोगों ने पढ़ा रेशियो ऑफ लेसर इनइक्वालिटी, जहाँ पे एंटीसीडेंट इज लेसर देन कॉन्सिक्वेंट. फाइनली हम लोगों ने समझा रेशियो ऑफ इक्वालिटी, जहाँ पे ए और बी दैट इज एंटीसीडेंट कॉन्सिक्वेंट दोनों बराबर होते हैं. एनी डाउट? फिर एक क्वेश्चंस करा हम लोगों ने. फाइनली कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट टर्मिनोलॉजीज दैट इज डुप्लीकेट रेशियोज, जहाँ पे रेशियोज को स्क्वायर कर देंगे तो डुप्लीकेट निकल जाएगा. फिर हम लोगों ने सब डुप्लीकेट देखा, जहाँ पे रेशियोज को हम लोगों ने स्क्वायर रूट में कन्वर्ट करके दोनों टर्म्स में स्क्वायर रूट निकाल दिया. फिर हम लोगों ने देखा ट्रिप्लीकेट रेशियोज, जहाँ पे हम लोगों ने रेशियोज का क्यूब निकाला दोनों टर्म्स का. फिर हम लोगों ने देखा सब ट्रिप्लीकेट रेशियो, जहाँ पे हम लोगों ने रेशियोज का क्यूब रूट को फाइंड किया. गॉट इट? फिर फाइनली हम लोगों ने समझा कि अगर कोई कंटिन्यूड रेशियोज है, कंटिन्यूड का मतलब होता है कि आपका जो डिनोमिनेटर ऑफ द फर्स्ट रेशियो है दैट हैज़ टू बी सेम ऑफ द लाइक डिनोमिनेटर और द कॉन्सिक्वेंट ऑफ द फर्स्ट रेशियो एंड द एंटीसीडेंट ऑफ द सेकेंड रेशियो हैज़ टू बी सेम. अगर आपका फर्स्ट रेशियो का लास्ट टर्म और सेकेंड रेशियो का फर्स्ट टर्म बराबर है उसको हम लोग कंटिन्यूड प्रोपोर्शन बोलते हैं. ठीक है, वो हम लास्ट क्लास में नेक्स्ट क्लास में जो प्रोपोर्शन पढ़ाएंगे और डिटेल में समझाएंगे. बट हम लोगों ने यहाँ पे देखा कि अगर हमें इस तरीके का कोई 2 या 3 रेशियोज दिया है तो इसके एक्सट्रीम रेशियोज को कैसे निकालते हैं? तो वी जस्ट नीड टू मल्टीप्लाई द गिवन रेशियोज और कंपाउंड इट टुगेदर. ओके, सो दैट्स इट फॉर टुडेज सेशन. होप यू हैव एंजॉयड दिस सेशन. थैंक यू एवरीवन. बाय बाय.